In a real estate interview, you obviously want to prepare for questions that you might be asked, but preparing your own list of questions to ask your interviewers is also really important. Asking questions can help you understand the role better, be more efficient with the job search process, and can even make you a more attractive candidate overall when compared to other applicants. So to make sure you're prepared to go into round one with the right questions ready, this week's video covers 5 things to ask during a first round commercial real estate interview and why each of these things is important. So the first thing that's really important to get clear on in the first round of the interview process is something that all job candidates want to know as soon as possible, but don't always ask, and this is the target pay range for the position you're interviewing for. If you're way off on salary or bonus expectations from the beginning to the point where it's really unlikely that the company is going to be able to get to the numbers you're targeting, you'll want to know this up front instead of wasting weeks or months going down a path that's ultimately going to lead to disappointment. This also gets ahead of the what salary range are you expecting question that a lot of employers ask candidates during the interview process, which is especially helpful when their target is at or above what you would have ended up asking for. This is also a great time to ask whether there are opportunities for profit sharing, co-investment, or any other forms of compensation or benefits that wouldn't fall into the salary or bonus category, but what you don't want is to go through the entire interview process only to get an offer that isn't anywhere close to what you need to be making in order to make a move. Now, this doesn't mean that companies don't come up from where they typically start a negotiation, and most firms will throw out numbers initially on the low end of the spectrum to see if you'll bite. But if your all-in pay target is something like $120,000 and the target pay range for the company is something like $60,000 to $70,000, in most cases, it usually doesn't make sense to continue with the process. Now, the next thing I'd recommend asking as soon as possible, ideally to multiple different people that you interview with, is how would you describe this company's culture? While you can definitely learn about a company just by walking through the office and going through the standard interview process, you can often get a lot more clarity on this up front by asking the people you meet with directly how they would describe their experience working at the firm. Good questions to ask at this stage include things like, what's your favorite part about working here? What's something you wish you would have known before joining the firm? Or what personality types have you seen among the most successful people within this organization? The answers to these questions can give you clues into what your work life might be like on a day-to-day basis if you were to take the job, and these can also indirectly ask about some of the negatives of working at the company in a way that's respectful and also allows people to share their own personal experiences. Now, the next thing I would ask in the first round of interviews is, what is your long-term goal for the person you end up hiring? The answer to this question can help you determine where you might be able to take this role internally if this does end up being a company you want to build a career with long term, and this can also give you a sense of how the company sees this hire fitting into the team. Some analyst and associate roles are only designed to be 2 to 3 year positions with a team of established senior professionals at the next level that aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Other companies have a more formal analyst and associate career trajectory internally where they plan to transition these people into more senior level roles after a certain number of years, and there are resources available within the company itself to help you make that happen. Regardless of whether the answer you hear is good or bad, this question will give you another helpful data point to understand if you can grow within this company, if this is designed to be a dead-end job, or if this is a role that will lead you down a path that you ultimately don't want to pursue. This type of question also shows a hiring manager that you're being intentional about your job search overall and that you'd ideally like to build a career internally over time, which can often put you ahead of other candidates interviewing for the position, all else being equal. Now, the final 2 questions I want to mention here are related to the rest of the interview process itself. And the first question is, if I were to advance to future rounds of this process, should I prepare for a modeling exam? The answer to this question will help you prioritize your time as you're waiting for a decision, and will also make sure you aren't stressing out and cramming for an exam that you ultimately won't need to take. In most cases, this question will also lead an employer to share a little bit more about what might be asked of you within a modeling test itself, if this is expected, including things like general exam structure, any time constraints you might have, and whether this would be a take-home test or an in-office exam. Technical modeling case studies are typically given in the last 1 to 2 rounds of the interview process, so by asking this question up front, you'll often be giving yourself at least a few weeks to prepare, and by being proactive about this, in a lot of cases, you'll be getting this information before other candidates that are also interviewing for the role. Now, the last question I want to bring up here will help you manage your expectations during the most uncertain parts of this process, and this is, when should I expect to hear more about next steps and whether I've advanced to the next round? The answer to this question can give you a lot more peace of mind than you would have if you were waiting indefinitely for an unknown period of time, and this can also give you an excuse to follow up if you don't end up hearing back by the date you were supposed to. Now, this doesn't mean that you should immediately start firing off emails to a recruiter or hiring manager the first day after they said they'd reach back out, but if you haven't heard from them in 2 or 3 days beyond when they expected to make a decision, this is when it starts to make a lot more sense to consider asking for an update. And when you do end up reaching out, you want to make sure that your email is framed as a question rather than a demand for an immediate decision. And an easy way to do this is to say something along the lines of, I wanted to check in on next steps based on our initial conversation and see if there's anything else you need from me at this stage of the process. Something like this just gives a hiring manager or recruiter a very gentle reminder to circle back with the team and make a decision to move this forward without being overly pushy or expecting an immediate response. Ultimately, while preparing for questions that you could be asked is obviously important, making sure you're also prepared with a list of your own questions to bring into an interview will make sure you're putting your best foot forward and pursuing the right opportunities for you. And if you want to make sure you'll be ready for an Excel modeling exam that might be given to you during the interview process, make sure to check out our all-in-one membership training platform, Breaking the CRE Academy. A membership to the Academy will give you instant access to over 120 hours of video training on real estate financial modeling and analysis. You'll get access to hundreds of practice Excel interview exam questions, sample acquisition case studies, and you'll also get access to the Break Into CRE Analyst Certification exam, which covers topics like real estate pro forma and development modeling, commercial real estate lease modeling, equity waterfall modeling, and many other real estate financial analysis concepts that will help you prove to employers that you have what it takes to tackle the responsibilities of an analyst or associate at a top real estate firm. And if you like this video and want to see more content on commercial real estate interviews, make sure to hit the like button and let me know. And let me know in the comments if there are any specific parts of the interview process that you'd like to see covered in a future video on the channel. As always, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you found this helpful. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see more videos like this every single week, and I'll see you in the next video.